Hello and welcome to another of our videos featuring items from our collection. So this video was actually supposed to be undertaken by Linda, but she's been otherwise engaged recently looking after the funding of the museum. So today I'll be taking the video and today I'll be talking about buttons and badges and things like that. The original video was supposed to be about religion, but we'll have that one another time. So I'll just go on to talk about the objects I've taken out of the stores for you today. So here are some of the badges which I'm going to talk about today. So one thing to bear in mind, at the very beginning of the service there was the single keeper. He was in charge of the entire site and that was it really. But by the 1820s you have the two keeper system introduced. One would be the principal keeper, the man in charge, while the assistant keeper was there really at the behest of his principal. He would do as he was asked to do. To look at them, there wouldn't really be much difference. You would guess who the principal was, mainly because he was older than his assistant, and that was basically it. As the 19th century went on though, more uniform accoutrements were introduced, and here are a few of them in front of us. So among the earliest of the uniform accoutrements was the cap badge and the brass buttons, which we still had in the uniform jackets at the very end of the man service. So this is a 20th century example, but the design of this cap badge was used certainly as early as the 1870s. We know that because we have pictures of the keepers wearing them, in particular David Scott here at Kinnaird Head. So both the principal and the assistant would wear those, along with the brass button here. That's a general standard button which was used all the way through the man's service. So again, you don't really have much in the way of a difference between the two men, but we know that in 1875 efforts were made to show a difference in rank between the two keepers. So in 1875 we know that the principal keeper was wearing a double-breasted velvet collar. So the velvet collar was the sign that he was in charge, whereas his assistant would just have a standard suit jacket. So there is no badge of office, so to speak, at that point. That was the standard up until the beginning of the 20th century. They were still using the badges, the cap badge there and the button was seen earlier, but by 1912 anyway, they start to use these collar badges. So these collar badges were issued to the principal keepers. You can see PLK under the lighthouse there, and we are dating those because we have the die. So here's the die here for that particular badge, and it's dated December 1912. We should mention, however, that it may be a later die, but we do know that these types of badges start appearing in the pictures, the photographs, at the same time as it's stamped on that particular die. So that's really the first badge of office, so to speak, of the principal keeper. The cap badge remained the same, the first one we showed you here, but that was due to change as the 20th century wore on. So by the late 1920s, early 1930s, these collar badges start to vanish, and the principal keeper gets his own badge of office, or his own rank. So that's when the principal keeper badge appears in the cap badges. So this example here, this belonged to Thomas Leslie of the knitting machine fame. So that would be in his cap badge, and just to make sure you noticed he was in charge, he also had these sleeve badges which were sewn onto the uniform jackets. So there's no doubt he would be in charge. The assistant keeper, he continues to wear the badge like this up until the very end of the man's service. So why were the badges of rank so important? Well, at a very basic level, of course, there were two different ranks, the principal keeper being the chief officer at the lighthouse. So it had to be known that he was the man to be dealt with if you were on site. But beyond this idea of who's in charge and who's not, there is another side to why the badges were so important to the keepers themselves. Now, if you did encounter an assistant keeper, and if you do today, they are very proud to have worn a badge like this. However, if you consider the principal keepers, in order to gain a badge like this, you have to earn it. The entire system is based on, or was based on, dead man's shoes. So in order to be entitled to wear a badge like this, you have to wait for your turn of promotion. It can take, let's say, between 15 to 20 years under normal circumstances. So this badge is basically showing you've done your time. You can do the job, you know it inside out. You have earned the right to be in charge of your station. And that's really why I suppose these badges develop through time, a sense of pride for the keepers, and also them showing what they've achieved during their careers. It was very important to them. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It certainly wasn't the one that we intended, so I hope we haven't maybe gone too quickly with all these different badges, but I hope you've enjoyed it. And do tune in tomorrow when we'll be speaking more about principal and assistant keepers. Thank you.